This is the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
We have hundreds of trillions of cubic feet of clean, green, natural gas up here just waiting to be tapped. We have billions and billions of barrels of oil. We have a strategic location on the globe, obviously.
As gas prices continue to soar, Sarah Palin urges the GOP presidential candidates to tap into the resources we have in the great state of Alaska. He made us laugh on the hit sitcom Growing Pains, and then made us laugh, cry, and hang on the edge of our seats in the 2008 film Fireproof. Now, in his first solo project, Kirk brings us Monumental, in search of America's national treasure. Kirk is here today to discuss this incredible film. And we lost our friend Andrew Breitbart this past week. We'll get Governor Palin's thoughts on Andrew, and I'll share mine as well. Monumental, in search of America's national treasure, will be out later this month. I was lucky enough to get a sneak peek of the film, and I have to tell you, it's incredible. Any patriot will love this work, and really, it's also a call to duty. We must preserve the greatness of our nation and reignite America by teaching our children just what American exceptionalism is all about. And the movie revolves around a monument you may have never heard of. Today, we're joined by the man behind this wonderful work, Kirk. Great to have you here with us today. Thanks for joining us on SaraNet Radio.
Oh, my pleasure.
Now, Kirk, before we get into Monumental, the movie itself, what a monumental task it was for you to make this happen. It took almost, 2 years to do all the necessary groundwork and have this all come together. Can you tell me, where did you go, and what did you see over that time, and how did you ever come up with the itinerary?
Well, that's a good question. It did take about 2 years, 2.5 years, traveling across Europe and the United States to learn all that I was trying to learn. So it really came together as I just followed the escape route of the Pilgrims. They ultimately were known as the Separatists, who were in England, and then there from England I followed them into the dungeons and the castles that they were thrown into, their underground secret church meeting places, then to Holland, where they stayed for 12 years before they got on the Mayflower and came to what's now America. So that was the itinerary, and from there traveled around to some other places like Washington, D.C., Boston, Texas, to talk to some specific experts and historians on particular subjects.
I know you've said America's sick and we need to act now for our kids. So this search, was it to find all the ingredients that makes up our great country and then talk about how we preserve it?
Well, in essence, yes. I've got 6 children myself, and so I'm not approaching this as an actor or a politician or a historian, but as a dad. And when I look around, I see the fruit on America has been so sweet for so long, but it's rotting economically, morally, spiritually, politically, and I'm concerned about the world that my kids are growing up into. So instead of getting more and more sort of flustered by watching everyone play the blame game on most TV and radio programs, the right blames the left blames the right, government blaming businesses, business blames the government, I decided, let's go talk to the people who built this place, who started from scratch and ended up with the freest, richest, most prosperous nation in history, and find out what the secret sauce was so that we can understand who we are and what made us such a blessed nation. And that maybe will get us back on track to where we need to be.
I was sucked into the film right away. I mean, the great idea is enough to pique anyone's interest, but once you actually begin watching the film, it's really quite impressive to the eye, not just the story, but the cinematography. And then, of course, the great message keeps you intrigued the whole way through. And as you just mentioned, the experts you talk to, that lends a lot of credibility here. Well,
that's it. I wanted to learn from our forefathers and foremothers, and so to do that, I had to go walk in their shoes. And we can only do that to a certain extent. We're 400 years later, but I was able to meet with pilgrim experts and historians in England and Holland. My good friend, Dr. Marshall Foster, was very helpful in that regard. And this journey ultimately lands us at a monument that is overlooking Plymouth Harbor and Plymouth Rock. It's the largest granite monument in America, 180 tons, and it's called the Monument to the Forefathers. And what it is it's a remembrance that tells us how the Pilgrims did it, how our forefathers constructed the strategy of building and sustaining a free and just society under God, under law, and to do it in a way that transforms the heart of man, the mind of man, and then slowly works those principles of freedom out into society so that you have a free nation, not ruled from a king. It was men and women of character who were on the inside by their faith in God, and then began teaching their children these principles and following the principles found in God's Word for making laws that would keep the nation free.
This is your first solo project, but anyone who took in Fireproof already knows that if it's got Kirk Cameron's name on it, it's probably worth seeing. You know, Sarah Palin embarked on a tour of her own this past summer, visiting several places that have special meaning in making America what it is. I bet you can appreciate that trip she took with her family.
Oh, absolutely, on a couple of levels. I mean, one is as a family. We've begun home educating our kids this last year, and which has just been an awesome adventure. I mean, the time together just increases exponentially. So you can make trips like that as a family, and that's so important. And then also, when you take trips across the country, you talk to so many people, and you see the landmarks of our ancestors and the things that they've left behind, so that if we'd ever lose our way, we would have some of these markers on the map that lead us back to the national treasure that made America so exceptional and unique and experienced so much blessing over the years. When I look at what's going on today, in the White House, I look at what's going on TV and movies, man, we're just taking a nosedive into the toilet, morally and spiritually, economically and politically. We have got to really do something, and we got to do it quickly, or we will have missed our opportunity.
What I really find important here, Kirk, is just like Sarah Palin, you're not merely giving a history lesson, but you're rediscovering America's greatness and flat out asking your fellow Americans to teach kids our core American values.
That's it. Ronald Reagan has this great quote. There's so many, but I mean, he said, the choice that we have is not between left or right. It's between up or down. We're either going to make decisions that take us up to the maximum liberty under law, or we're going to go down to the ant heap of totalitarianism. And we just can't wait for somebody in the White House to figure it out and give them the power to save us. We need to understand that real hope and real change does not begin at the White House. It begins at your house and my house at the dinner table. And we've got to teach our kids these principles and build the nation from the ground up, so that by the time presidential elections come around, we're not trying to decide between the worst of a few evils. And I'm not suggesting that that's our case right now, but we could say, gosh, there's 6 or 7 people. I'd be happy with all of them, because we've spent 40 years raising a generation of people who understand the principles of freedom and faith, integrity, virtue, character, wisdom. That's what we need.
Governor Palin always stresses the importance of children understanding, what we're founded on, and it's great to see you're doing that as well. And that's a great point you make, Kirk, about, where do you think these candidates come from? They're Americans from American families and American schools, so you would think that the background's there. When Monumental opens, it won't open quietly. Really, a celebration is planned. Tell us what we can expect on March 27th.
Well, March 27th, Monumental opens. It is a live one-night event, Tuesday, March 27th, and we will all be watching Monumental in over 550 theaters across America at the same time. So get your tickets at monumentalmovie.com. If you go to monumentalmovie.com, you can get tickets for your family. Bring your school, your church, your political club, your business, and fill up the theaters, because we want to have this conversation at the same time, and we want to send a message to Hollywood that we will come out and look at movies like this if bold people will tell us the truth and give us this message of our true history and how to secure a monumental future for our children.
This might be a tough one, but did you have a favorite part of your journey, or was there that wow moment when something really just struck you?
I think one of the most profound moments for me was seeing this monument, which turns out to be the real rock star of the whole documentary film.
Sure.
The Pilgrims themselves were amazing people. America is an amazing nation, but the monument that I found, which I'd never heard of, I mean, it's the largest granite monument in America, and most people don't even know it exists. Even historians and governors, senators, congressmen, even those living in Massachusetts, many of them don't even know of it. They've never even seen it. It's almost like it's being hidden. And what I love about it is it just lays out the strategy of how they did it. How is it that for 3,500 years you haven't had these principles of the people, by the people, for the people, electing men and women of integrity and willingly submitting to their leadership rather than being controlled by the top down, having freedom of religion, economic freedom, free enterprise. These things didn't happen for 3,500 years since the ancient Hebrew Republic under Moses. And here this small group of people did it from scratch out of a wilderness because they had been taught by their pastor who had been inspired by so many liberty heroes that had gone before him. And this monument lays the whole strategy out, and I think that it should be a requirement for anyone holding office in America to study that thing and memorize it and demonstrate that they're going to live by those principles.
Really is amazing. Hopefully folks will open their eyes to through the film. A lot of people remember you from Growing Pains, and obviously by your deep, thoughtful work, Mike Seaver has grown up a lot. We did enjoy your work then, though, Kirk. Really a fun show for so many. Do you keep in touch with any of the gang from the program?
We do occasionally. We've had some reunion shows that have been fun. We get together every once in a while. But, we've all grown up. Some of us have moved away. My wife and I have 6 kids, so we're super busy. And I do see Jeremy, and who played Ben, and Tracy, who played Carol. I do see them occasionally. So, we're friends. We're busy friends.
Right. Understandable. Well, we did enjoy you then, too, Kirk. And again, for the big premiere tickets currently on sale at monumentalmovie.com or fathomevents.com. And more good news, a portion of all Monumental profits will be donated to the restoration of the National Monument to the Forefathers in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Kirk, this is such an important endeavor, and I'm so glad someone with your influence cares about and loves our country so much and wants to pass down these critical ideals to our kids. We wish you the best of luck with the film Monumental in Search of America's National Treasure. And Kirk Cameron, thank you so much for joining us on the Palin Update on Saranet Radio.
Oh, thank you. God bless you.
Kirk Cameron, quite a guy. Folks, you have to see this film, Monumental in Search of America's National Treasure. Get your tickets now at monumentalmovie.com or fathomevents.com. More problem-solving, less back and forth. That's the message from Governor Palin to Republican presidential candidates. Palin says voters are starting to get sick and tired of the pettiness and the bickering in the primary race. During an interview with Greta Van Susteren on Fox News, Palin also called on the candidates to discover all that Alaska has to offer, especially the state's rich energy resources, something Americans care a great deal about, especially with the current pain at the pump. The governor also hammered away at the president, saying it must be anybody but Obama in November. Congratulations to Bristol Palin. The governor's eldest daughter has signed on with Lifetime for an all-new docu-series that will provide an exclusive, rare glimpse into Bristol's real life as a young single mother. Bristol Palin, Life's a Trip, will reveal how she adjusts to her life in Alaska while raising her toddler son Trip alone and maintaining a close relationship with her parents Todd and Sarah Palin. Lifetime has ordered 10 half-hour episodes of the program to air this year, so keep an eye out for Bristol Palin, Life's a Trip. We were all stunned and shocked this past week when we learned Andrew Breitbart had died at 43. The never shy journalist will be remembered for so much. He stood up to corruption and called out foul play no matter how high of an office or a title the offenders held. Breitbart was featured in Stephen Bannon's The Undefeated, and he spoke of the courage of Governor Palin. Palin remembered Breitbart after his unexpected passing, calling him a warrior who stood on the side of what was right. She says he defended what was right. He defended the defenseless. I just spoke to Andrew days before he died, and yes, it was about politics and Palin, but it also quickly moved to sports, kids, family, joking around. Andrew said he'd like to come on the Palin Update here on SaraNet Radio. We were working on a date to make that happen. That won't happen now because our friend is gone. He leaves behind a lovely wife and 4 children. That's what has me the most upset. I pray for his family. We'll miss you, Andrew, but we'll remember all the fun and all the troublemaking, so to speak, and we will absolutely carry on the fight for what is right. We'll continue to defend the defenseless. 43 is too young to die, but what a ride for this happy warrior. Andrew Breitbart, gone, but never forgotten. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio. Visit SaraNetRadio.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, follow us on Twitter at SaraNet Radio, and we are now on Facebook, so please like SaraNet Radio on Facebook. I want to thank everyone here at SaraNet Radio. Thanks to Kirk Cameron, and thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.